We're in a library. Okay, I think we're ready. Let's see. Yes. Okay, hello and welcome back to my channel. So, last week I had a hiatus because it's a lot of homework due. So I finished all my assignments and made sure everything was turned in. So I just chilled and I finished reading everything. So I actually have a lot to review today. So I'm going to be reviewing Skyward and No One Is Watching by Alyssa Cole. And yes, and then that is going to be the month of February. As far as reading goes, it has been crazy. I'm almost caught up to my Goodreads goal, like I guess being on the trajectory of finishing 60 books this year. So yes. Anyway, this is the last day of Black History Month, and just like every month we are reading Black authors with Black characters, Black perspectives, all of that. And when I'm going to be talking about Skyward, although the author is not Black, I will say that Willa is, and I thought that she was a superhero in Skyward, and she is not. She is way more than that. So if you know, I don't really read graphic novels like that. I don't know why. For some reason, I just can't really get into them because usually they don't feature characters that look like me. So I've been branching out to find some that do, and this came up. So when I was reading the first volume, I immediately figured out that she wasn't going to be a superhero, that there's just no gravity in the world anymore. So lakes and everything that's just basically held down with gravity is not there anymore. So she's growing up in a world where everyone's floating except for the few elites that have decided that they want to wear these magnetic shoes so they can stay on the ground, so they do. So Willa, her dad, stays in the house all the time because he knew that gravity was gonna disappear, and he was preparing for it but never got a chance to do what he wanted to do because his wife had died. So he just stays in the house all the time. Willa wants to see the world, and she doesn't want to be afraid like her dad, so she goes down to the way that the world used to be with some magnetic shoes and runs into her dad's old business partner, and basically that's where the story leads. So she runs into him. He didn't think that his partner, her dad, was still alive, so it becomes this whole thing. So then we go into volume 2. The man is chasing her, trying to find her. So she gets on a train or whatever, and on her way out of the city, they stop the train because the guy who owns everything, her dad's old business partner, stopped it. But when she gets off of the train, it's crazy because she sees that bugs have changed in this new world with no gravity. They're carnivores and they're hella big. So she's on the run from the bugs. She meets these farmers who basically farm the bugs, and it's crazy because that's where the meat is coming from. So they're learning so much about what's going on, the ins and outs. And at this point, Willa's just trying to use the notebook that her dad gave her to do what he wanted to do with it. Whether that's to bring back gravity, she doesn't know. And a secret's revealed in volume 2 that a person we thought was dead is actually alive. Anyway, we move on to volume 3, where she uses her dad's plans to figure out what he wanted her to do all along. And the reveal and the ending were perfect. And I was excited for Willa because in the beginning, she wants to travel the world and she's going to end up doing it, but all the stuff that she does in between was perfect. I don't know. I feel like the pictures were great. I felt like the storyline was great. Everything was perfect about this graphic novel. No complaints. I would read it again. I give it a 10 out of 10, and I definitely recommend it. So after reading those, which didn't really take that much time because they are graphic novels, I wanted to read like a good thriller or psychological thriller, something like what was the book? The Other Black Girl, something like that, or something like Kindred, something that's going to make your mind think because, I don't know, get tired of TV. And as much as I love Jordan Peele, I wish everybody would just think about other stuff that they can make. But honestly, if they make this into a movie, I wouldn't be mad. So when no one is watching, when I say that this book was probably, like, I keep saying this, like, I guess I just keep upping the ante on what I'm reading, but this is my favorite book so far of 2023, just because Sydney has lived in Brooklyn all her life, and she's just seeing the effects of gentrification that are going on in her neighborhoods. The neighbors are up and moving out, but they own their houses and they're selling, and it's becoming very white. They're taking over her whole city basically, and it's getting weird because they're trying to buy her mom's house as well, but she's not trying to sell it because she wants to keep it in the family, because generational wealth and just passing things down as far as a legacy goes, or just as far as property goes, just to have ownership of something, and being black. Anyway, she has a neighbor and his name is Theo, and he lives across the way, and they're basically just like being some peeping toms on each other through the windows. But he's also, well, I guess what I like about Theo is, although he's white, he's starting to open his eyes to what's really going on in the neighborhood, because at first he thinks that Sydney is like being very dramatic, but over time he sees that no, she might be onto something, and this shit is getting a little crazy. And I just like the way that Alyssa Cole talks about gentrification, not only just in the present tense of what's going on in Brooklyn and other areas throughout the states all across the country, but in past times, from like Central Park, and how that was a thriving black community and how it was built over with the park there. Just other instances where black communities are thriving and they were just taken over by white people just because they could, and they weren't able to own their houses, and just how we get bad loans and things like that. It kept me interested the whole time. I don't know. It just makes you think. It was driving me crazy trying to figure out, like, is she, like, I knew Sydney wasn't crazy and I knew she knew everything was happening, but it was just, you wouldn't believe it, but it's something that could really happen. You could definitely see it. So that's why I like this book. Again, favorite book so far this year, and I would definitely recommend. So yes, I have finished not one, not two, not three, but four books in a 2-week span. And when I tell you we are back, baby, we are back. As Black History Month is ending, we're still reading the same stuff. It doesn't really stop here, and I'm just being more intentional with that. I saw a creator, she was talking about how Black History Month has been kind of quiet as far as businesses and different organizations and what they had been doing in 2 years prior, or 2 years after the pandemic. But this year was just like so hush, and I was just like, it has been crazy times, y'all. But Black History Month all year round. Anyway, we're gonna get into the song of the week, and like I've been playing black artists the whole month, I decided to throw it back to something that fits the times, because there's not a lot of good, I would say, I don't know, music that makes you think that's a lot of consciousness. There is, but it's not really mainstream, and I feel like we should get back to that, because that was the only way that you were getting played back in the day. You'd have to be good rapping skills that was actually on a beat, and it had to be talking about something, telling a story, or talking about what's going on, something that would be relatable. But now it's just whatever. Anyway, this is something from, I would say, my mom's era, that she would be like, I remember when that came out, and all that. So this is going to be Public Enemy. As you know, I love Flavor Flav. Anyway, fight the power. So we can only play so much. It's a weekly thing. Copyright. But I was listening to that song today, and I guess it fits. Just as we close Black History Month, it just never goes to show you that everything that they're talking about in this song is just very still relevant. We're still fighting for the littlest stuff, like the stuff that you would think that we would have accomplished right now. We haven't, and although we've come very far, we still have so much more to do. But yes, that is going to be the song of the week. As far as what's going on with me, everything is pretty chill. this is the last 2 weeks of school, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. After this, we only have one more quarter, and then I have a master's degree. And I'm just excited because now I'm just looking into residencies of what I can do once I have my degree, 2-year residencies at different universities and things like that. So yeah, just getting excited to what's to come. I don't know, it's crazy. Again, apologies because I needed a week off, and I said I was coming back to review Skyward, and I did that today. So I think we're square. We're good. I hope that everything is going well with y'all. Just keep the positive energy. Don't stress about anything that you can't control. And that's all I can say at this point. Keep journaling, keep reading, and next week I believe I will have a review of White Smoke by Tiffany Jackson, if I'm not mistaken. And yes, I will be back next week with another review. And yes, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next week.